I'm Scott Riley, Mayor City of Waukesha. Welcome to the Mayor's Breakfast. I hope everything's going well. It sounded like it, I'll tell you that. I want to thank, we have a number of elected officials attending this morning. For the office of Senator Ron Johnson, we have Ginger Goldenberger. For the office of Senator Tammy Baldwin, I'm sorry, Rebecca wasn't able to make it. From Congressman Fitzgerald's office, we have Darrell Carlson, right here. Waukesha County Executive Paul Farrell, Waukesha County Supervisors, Mike Crawley, Daryl Enriquez, Larry Nelson, and Paul Decker, who was in the, Paul's still here, in the paper this morning. He hasn't left yet. So the article in the paper is he's now running again, so we're losing our phenomenal county board chair. We also have many of our city council members: Mike Racine, Alicia Alvin-Slavin, Dean Lemke, Elizabeth Molson, Joel Piper, Paul Luteska, and also another elected official is Brian Running. Brian Running's also here. We have a police chief here also. I want to thank Tuscan Hall for hosting this event. This is a venue that just splendidly for this, and Tuscan has always been real helpful to make this happen, so we appreciate that. For the centerpieces, we have the Health and Hands Senior Group through our Waukesha Parks, Rec, and Forestry Department, so that's actually something that works real well. They get to put together our centerpieces. I'm pretty sure, looking to see if Rebecca's here, but you don't need, I was just going to see if I'm saying something wrong, which is I think we buy the supplies and they put them together for us, so it's a good partnership. And also, we have barrels out front for donations to the Waukesha Food Pantry, and I am going to also say we need funds for the Waukesha Parade Memorial. If you are able to make a gift to the Parade Memorial Fund this year, it would be truly appreciated. So, with that, let me check my other notes. That is where I am done, and now our new city administrator, Tony Brown, is doing his city news and announcements. There you go, Tony.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Anthony Brown. As the mayor said, I'm fairly new. I'm on day 10 here. But what I would say is over my 10 days, I've grown to appreciate a couple of things about the city of Waukesha. Probably the first thing is the high quality of services that we provide and a great work environment while being fiscally responsible. So in keeping with that notion, as some of you know, the city is going through a strategic planning process. Through this process, our council will establish key strategic priorities for the next 3 to 5 years. And our staff will work through what action steps need to be done to accomplish that vision. The first steps in this process, which included community input sessions, stakeholder interviews, and then also interviews with city elected officials, has been complete. So many of you, I think, who participated in that effort. Our consultant, Knight Dairy, is currently going through all of that information, collecting it, analyzing it, and that will then be used next month in January at 2 separate workshops that we're doing, one with our common council and then the other with staff to again identify those key priorities and then also the action steps related to them. So as that kind of moves along and we hit milestones, we'll surely keep all of you informed about where we're at in that process. But ultimately what we're hoping to do is finish the strategic plan in about roughly May. So look forward to that. Since the last meeting of this group, the city officially transitioned to Lake Michigan Water. Huge thanks to all of the individuals that were involved, specifically our water utility team. Throughout the process, it was relatively smooth, and I think that's a credit to not only the staff, and the mayor's laughing because it probably wasn't as smooth. huge credit to not only the water superintendent, but the mayor over the many decades that it took to get to this point. Lastly, just a couple of save the dates for upcoming city events in the new year. The city will be hosting the annual Waukesha Jamboree on January 19th through 28th for 10 days of winter family fun. Also, back by popular demand, next fall is Waukesha Unlocked, and that is on October 12th and 13th. This is really a great opportunity to showcase the community by opening as many doors as possible. So if you have a business, organization, or church that wants to participate, I strongly encourage you to apply now. And I'll just end by saying thank you everyone for being here. I look forward to getting to know all of you and have a wonderful holiday season.
Thank you, Tony, and welcome to Waukesha. So, our topic today is housing Waukesha families. And actually, just as Tony was talking about the water, it made me realize that we kind of have the same type of project. Housing is a nationwide issue. Housing low-income people is an issue that we struggle with all the time. There isn't anything that is a magic bullet. It takes a lot of hard work from a lot of different people to figure out how to fix our housing problem. It's not just Waukesha, it's Waukesha County, it's southeastern Wisconsin, it's the state of Wisconsin, and I'm going to tell you it's also the entire nation. All have a problem with having affordable housing and actually just having enough housing. I am proud of what the city, as well as all our organizations in Waukesha, have already done to try to help the housing situation. There's so many players in this, and I think we are moving ahead continually, but there's a lot more work to be done. We're going to have to dig deeper, consider new options if we want the results of housing all families and housing them in a way so that they aren't spending more than a third of their income on housing. We're glad to have United Way as a partner in this space. Like I say, there's many partners. United Way, we've been talking about this for 2 years, having United Way do a presentation on this, and it's finally happening. But going back, the work of fixing the housing issue and I don't consider this a city of Waukesha problem, I consider this a regional problem, is only going to happen with continued and increased collaboration. Today we have Amy Lindner, CEO of United Way of Greater Milwaukee and Waukesha County, and Christina Kohler, who is the portfolio manager of financial stability from United Way. And I'm going to turn it over to them, and we're going to hear from them about how they fix housing in Waukesha. No, it's all let's have it.
Good morning. Thank you to the mayor and his team for this opportunity to be with you today. Many of you know that I grew up here in the city. So before I get to the meat of the presentation, I have some thoughts about what it means to get to raise your family right here in the city of Waukesha. If this works for me. There you go. So when I was a kid here in the city, and for some lucky families today, I really think it means to have the best of the American dream. That the best of the American dream really still is possible right here in the city. I think many of you, particularly those of you who have been here for a while, will recognize most, if not all, of the buildings here in this slide. In the middle of this picture here is my great-grandfather and his two brothers. They left Mexico. The story is to avoid getting drafted by Pancho Villa's army. The actual story, it's close. The actual story, so Viviano, my great-uncle, is all the way to your left. The actual story is Pancho Villa took his horses And he went back to get them back because that's how they were feeding the family. My great-grandfather, the most handsome one, is all the way to the right. They left Mexico. They kind of took the horses back and left Mexico because that was the only way they were feeding their family. And they were migrant farmers when they first came to the U.S. And they came to Wisconsin because you pick cherries in Wisconsin, and they were making this cycle. And my great-grandfather, all the way to the right, stayed in Wisconsin because he got a job, and stayed in Waukesha specifically because he got a job at Waukesha Foundry, and bought a house on Adams Street where he would walk 2 blocks over to Waukesha Foundry. He had his whole family, took care of his whole family based on that one job at Waukesha Foundry. And his son, my grandpa, was able to support all of his kids by working at Ben Cooper Power System and on a house that no longer exists because it's now a part of the parking lot of La Pasadena Esperanza. And my grandpa's daughter, my mom, was able to rent a place on Kilts Drive where I was able to go to a great school at Lowell Elementary. And on and on and on. And when you look at these great places, like these great nonprofits, this great library, this great community, these great people, in just 3 generations, my family was able to go from my great-grandmother, who could cook anything, who could grow anything, who could heal anything, but could not write a single word until at age 88, she learned how to write her name to me in just 3 generations. Because of this. And that's why I do the work I do. That's why I believe so strongly in the work of United Way and in the work that builds communities like this. Because I want this same path to be available, not just for some families, but for any family who wants it and is willing to work for it. But that kind of trajectory is not possible without good housing that people can access, where people can actually become part of a community, not in a transitory way, but in a real and solid and permanent kind of way, in a way that allows them to build lives, to raise families, and create memories. And that's why United Way started our Safe and Stable Homes initiative with an initial goal of ending family homelessness in our 4-county footprint. It is only one piece of a full housing picture, but it is an important one. When we first set a goal in 2019, we thought we could achieve that goal by 2025. The following year, in 2020, we got a little over ambitious and we revised that goal to 2023. With 26 days left in 2023, I can share that we are not going to hit that goal in Waukesha County in 2023, but we are going to hit that goal. We feel really confident we're going to hit that goal. I'm looking at Christina, the goal owner. I think sooner than 2025, but lesson learned. We're not going to say sooner than 2025 today. We're going to hit that goal. And we're going to share with you more why and how we're going to get there and how we got as far as we are now. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the key reasons that for some families, for many families, finding affordable, stable housing in Waukesha is a challenge. Spoiler alert, it's some of the very things that make living here so incredible are some of the things that make it a challenge for all the families who want to live here, who want to be able to afford to live here, to be able to do so. My colleague Christina Kohler and I are going to spend a few minutes with you talking a little bit about some of the structural challenges that have been barriers to having enough housing for all families. We're going to talk about some of the incredible work that's already happening with so many incredible partners, some of what's going to be coming up, and some of the ways that we hope even more of you are going to want to plug in and be part of this work in the months and the years ahead. Sound good? Good. All right. Lots of people want to live in this city, which is awesome, but it drives up demand for a limited housing stock. Of course, driving up the price of renting and buying here. Obvious economics. It creates challenges for affordable prices for rent and for buying. For houses, the mayor mentioned of low income, but it really happens at all levels of housing prices here in the city and more broadly in our county. In terms of affordability, Waukesha is building in terms of availability, Waukesha is building houses, but not enough to meet the growing population. Families are moving in faster than you can build right now to meet that request of people who are coming in. Between 2010 and 2021, the city of Waukesha added more than 505 more households. I should have said more than 500. 505 more households than housing units. Surrounding communities are having similar growth, but not at the same rate and not at the same size gap. So Brookfield added about the same number of families, but they added more housing units during that same time. So they had only 20% the same size gap that you did. Your gap was 5 times worse than the gap that Brookfield had over that same time period. In terms of affordability, the value of homes in Waukesha County is the highest in Wisconsin. And considering all the municipalities within it, Waukesha County's median rent is the second highest in the state after Dane County. In other words, it costs a ton of money to buy a home here. Recently, our United Way partnered with a lot of great organizations whose names I'm not going to read, but they're up here, to do a study with the Wisconsin Policy Forum to study housing affordability, specifically right here in Waukesha County. And it found that the median sales price of homes in Waukesha County increased between 2016 and 2021, 5-year period, increased by 41%, while the median household income in the county over that same time period increased by 15%. And look, 15% increase in median household income is good news. That is not bad news by any metric, except when you compare it to a 41% increase in median home price. If you are an existing homeowner and you watch your median home price increase by 41%, and you are looking to sell and not buy another one, that's good news. That is the only group of people for whom that 41% is a good news. Right? Nobody is sad to see your home price go up. This is good news. When I say these are good problems, these are good problems. But these are the dynamics that are happening that are causing these structural problems for this community. So, let's keep going. When we talk about affordable housing, in some of our minds, affordable housing has become a polite way to talk about housing for poor people. That is not what I mean when I say affordable housing. When I say affordable housing, I mean housing that anyone of any income can afford. In the housing sphere, affordable housing means anybody should not have to spend more than 30% of their family budget to be able to afford their housing. So, when we spent some time with the wonderful staff in the mayor's office, we were looking at housing across the entire spectrum, from the least expensive housing to live in to the most beautiful, most expensive housing in the city and beyond. And there are gaps in affordability across the spectrum in this city. Middle income, upper income, and of course in lower income as well. We have an additional challenge, what we call circulation. There are people who want to spend their entire lives in the city, which is incredible. People like my aunts and uncles who've raised their kids in homes that have 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 bedrooms, who aren't finding houses that they want to move into, that are smaller, that are senior housing potentially specifically. So instead of leaving this community, they're staying in the house where they raised their family, which means that growing families aren't able to find the houses that are the right fit for their families where they actually need those extra bedrooms. So my aunts and uncles now have a sewing room and a guest room and an exercise room. I'm seeing some nodding heads. Some of you guys know these people too. So that's also creating a challenge in this community where there's just a mismatch between the families that technically need these houses and the houses that are available for these families. By the way, if you Google happy old people, these are some of the know that they're not, Larry. They very well might be. So, both the Wisconsin Policy Forum Report and the 2019 Waukesha Housing Study determined that more housing designated for seniors will be essential for this housing circulation problem to flow, to be able to better meet the needs of those individuals, to be able to better meet the needs of growing families in this community. So we're meeting the needs of all stages of household sizes in this community. We're not done yet. And. So I've already said we don't have enough houses here for families who want them, for people who want them. Another layer to the problem is the employment piece. So we have so many great businesses here who have so many fantastic jobs with family-sustaining wages, but we don't have enough people available to fill those jobs. During the United Way campaign, we're talking to companies who are telling us again and again and again, we cannot find enough people to fill these great jobs we have open. And we know if you're running a United Way campaign, you're a great company. So, for example, I saw Jackie here earlier. We saw recently Eaton has nearly 100 open jobs like now. And these are jobs that are paying $25+ an hour with benefits. These are not jobs that in a normal market should be hard to fill. If affordable, accessible housing is not available close to those jobs, then you think, well, okay, how else are people going to get to those jobs? People should be able to get there through transportation. So how are we going to get people in from surrounding communities? The old model used to be like, well, people can just take the bus. We know better than we used to know. People are not going to sit on a bus for an hour and 45 minutes to get to a job, even a job that's paying $20+ an hour. Well, rapid transit, that seems to be working. That's in, there's a BRT now in Milwaukee County. There's a conversation. We think maybe that's going to make its way to Brookfield. Maybe that's going to make its way all the way to downtown. That would definitely be progress. You heard maybe, I think 4 times in that one sentence. Like, I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but we don't know that for sure it's going to happen. And the best case scenario is maybe that's an hour commute from Milwaukee to downtown. Downtown is not all its way to your businesses, and we're not there yet. So, part of a solution, potentially, but we're going to have to keep working. Used cars. Anyone knows what happened in the used car market in the last 3 years? I asked Christina to help me look at the jumps. We know it's a lot, right? But actually, like, what is the numbers? It has increased nearly $10,000. The average price of a used car has increased nearly $10,000 since 2020. Putting the price of an average car really out of reach for many individuals, particularly if you haven't gotten to start that job in Eaton yet. So this housing part of the employment piece just is really such a key part of our work that we have ahead. So I have talked a lot about the challenges that families are facing, that this community is facing, not only for employers, but for us as a community to keep growing into the community that we want to be. I did not come here, I promise, only for doom and gloom. I do see the bright side of this. My uncle, Dude, who I know some of you know, tells his kids and nieces and nephews that we are Mexicans. We are not Mexicans. So I brought my colleague, Christina Kohler, with me, who's going to talk a little bit about great work that is already happening and more good work ahead. So let me turn this over to Christina.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
So yes, it is easy to look at like the doom and gloom of issues when we're talking about affordable and available housing. But I get the joy part of the celebration to really celebrate the city of Waukesha for everything that it's already doing regarding housing families in your community. So it's worth celebrating. So I'm going to start off with something a bit surprising, and that's that the city of Waukesha does have affordable rents. And it's surprising, but not surprising if you look at averages. So on average, the city of Waukesha has rent within $100 of the surrounding counties. And within the county of Waukesha, the city of Waukesha has extremely affordable rent. For example, compared to the city of Brookfield, rent is $500 less, thank you, here than it is in the city of Brookfield. And then if we look at housing availability, the city of Waukesha has more diverse housing stock than the rest of the municipalities in the county as well. And this is really important because having housing of varied types opens up options at different price points. So this increases housing circulation and opportunities of what different families might find affordable in their budgets. So the diversity of housing stock is also particularly friendly to families here in Waukesha, because the city of Waukesha has nearly double the percentage of multifamily units than the rest of the county. And talking with the mayor's office, we found that the low-income housing tax credit, or the LIHTC program, it's noted by HUD to be the most important resource for creating affordable housing in the United States. It issues tax credits for the acquisition, rehab, and construction of rental housing units that are targeted to lower-income individuals. So the city of Waukesha is the only municipality within the county to have done LIHTC developments over the past decade. The city of Waukesha has also taken advantage of extending a tax incremental financing project they had to create 2 affordable housing programs. One is a homeowner rehab program, and the other is a new development program. So these programs are meant to maintain our existing affordable housing stock by assisting low-income homeowners with repairs and upgrades, and then as well as incentivizing the construction of new affordable housing units. Additionally, the Waukesha Redevelopment Authority created a rental rehab loan program through the Housing Development Action Grant, improving the conditions of affordable rental units in the city. So it's a deferred loan program that incentivizes rental property owners to make improvements to units for units that are rented to households with incomes less than 80% of the area median income. So the city of Waukesha is faced with needing more affordable housing for families. Like, yes, that's a given for absolutely every community, but the city of Waukesha is really facing those problems head on and creating solutions to do something about it. So government can't solve this problem alone, even though they're doing great things, right? No one sector can solve this problem alone. And solutions need public-private partnerships. So I want to talk about some of the work that goes on in the nonprofit space. And it goes on behind the scenes where people tend to not see it or really think about it. So I want to give them a big shout out. I know a lot are here today. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes in the nonprofit sector to either increase housing stability for families that are kind of living paycheck to paycheck, or to quickly move families out of housing crisis and back to stability. So a little bit about me first. So I have a really, really interesting job at United Way. It's my dream job, and I love it, and I'm just saying that because my boss is right in front of me here. I find it to be so interesting because I get to work on social issues at 3 different levels. So some of my days are spent at emergency shelters or food pantries or eviction court, evaluating the programs that I'm seeing what it feels like to be a client of those programs, and then supporting the boots on the ground staff. And then some of my days are spent at local workplaces, so bank branches, manufacturing plants, real estate firms, you name it, right? Doing community education on the issues that I get to specialize in at United Way. And then some of my days are spent working with the government leaders and researchers and philanthropists and community organizations as part of different work groups and community coalitions working to solve big issues. And Tony and I were bonding about our education. So my education is in political economy, so I like to look at things from an economic lens, even though they're social issues. And I find something interesting while working on those different levels is that people in like finance and government, they know how confusing it is to say things like tax incremental financing, right? And they know that it needs to be explained and really gone through. But our friends in the nonprofit sector don't always realize that the work that they do every single day isn't common knowledge. And the words that they use, like HUD category 2 homelessness, to my homelessness friends here, that needs to be explained. So let me talk for a moment about how United Way's nonprofit partners in Waukesha County work to rehouse or keep housed families that are facing housing insecurity. So who are these agencies? So when we talk about homelessness in any community, we start with something called the Continuum of Care, or COC. COCs are mandated at a federal level for any community that receives HUD funding, Department of Housing and Redevelopment funding. They are tasked with kind of aligning with the community on ending homelessness, tasked with aligning funding streams that come through federal channels, and making sure that local agencies are using best practices. So the Housing Action Coalition in Waukesha County serves as the lead agency here of our local COC. And the COC network, we meet about monthly, and lots of subgroup iterations meet even more frequently than that. And partners of the local COC are very diverse. So it includes our local police department, mental health experts, emergency shelters, food pantries and food programs, and philanthropic partners. So what I'm trying to say is that there is intense coordination going on behind the scenes from a diverse group of partners every single day to kind of end homelessness and make housing insecurity breathe for our families here. And United Way is part of the COC too. We serve the role of philanthropy, connecting our collective donors' interests with the needs of housing security in Waukesha. We also bring together partners in our United Way collective impact initiative called Safe and Stable Homes, Ending Family Homelessness. And Safe and Stable Homes invests in housing security programs throughout our region. And Safe and Stable Homes is all about community. We meet monthly with the Housing Action Coalition, Family Promise of Waukesha, Salvation Army, the Women's Center, sorry if I'm forgetting anybody, to kind of measure our progress on the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness benchmark goals of what it means to end family homelessness. So a few months ago, we were sort of terrified while looking at these benchmarks that we were in the red for most of them. So we lasered our focus on working with our partner agencies in Waukesha, streamlined our coordination, increased our investments, and improved data collection. And within only a few months, we've seen a lot of those benchmarks go from red to yellow to green. And now we're in a position where we feel really confident that we're going to hit all of those benchmark goals within the next 2 years. And meeting the criteria of ending family homelessness doesn't mean that no family is or will ever experience homelessness. It does mean that we are identifying families that are housing insecure, and then we're providing them with prevention resources so they don't have to lose their home. And then if a family does experience homelessness, that we have the resources in place to get them rehoused within a few weeks, and then provide them with long-term wraparound support to make sure that those underlying needs are met so they don't experience homelessness again in the future. So in the past year, United Way invested $1.2 million into housing and homelessness programs in Waukesha County. This included the Housing Action Coalition Winter Warming Rooms, Community Action Coalition to bring wraparound supportive services to students facing housing insecurity, to American Red Cross, Hebron House, Salvation Army, Family Promise of Waukesha, and the Women's Center to support people in different types of housing crises, Lutheran Social Services to manage the tenant-based rental assistance program. We funded Waukesha Habitat for Humanity to support people becoming first-time homebuyers. We supported Wisconsin Veterans Network to support homelessness prevention resources for veteran-led families, and My Way Out to support families with justice-involved parents, and then Mediate Wisconsin to provide tenant-landlord mediation to prevent evictions. And then we were very proud to host Project Homeless Connect at Carroll University in late October. This was an event that connected families in need with different basic needs and housing resources, and about 100 individuals attended that event. Thank you very much to Carroll University for that space. And all of that was a mouthful, right? But I say all of that because I really want you to feel a sense of trust that United Way is committed to the Waukesha County and committed to the issue of housing stability. Now, when we think about our future vision of safe and stable homes, we need to look back to the foundation of what makes this place so special. You know that phrase, like, to make a house a home? I feel like the same things that make a house a home are the same things that make like a city or a county a community. right? Things like intention, support, creativity, growth. Like, what do you want the future of housing to look like for families in Waukesha? Because whatever that is, collectively, we can get there through collective impact work. And United Way is committed to do what we do best: collaborate, evaluate, and bring together the resources and talents to make big goals happen. Big goals that make sure cities and counties feel like safe and stable communities. So now I'm going to allow the wonderful Amy Lidner to return to close us out with how you can help partner in our collective community vision and the solutions to housing insecurity.
Christina mentioned that no one sector can solve big problems by themselves. Solutions come from a combination of nonprofit partners, government leadership, and business communities working with individuals. We know business hiring needs boil down to the housing issue. We know that United Way can serve a role, does serve a role as a connector and a convener, and we want to continue to use our resources to bridge the gap, to help that gap between the business community's aspirations and a stably housed workforce. Our tagline is give, advocate, volunteer. We are asking for donations to help invest in our collective impact work. I think I have one more slide. Look at these great faces. We are also looking for more talent to join our advisory council that will help us determine our next level of strategies in our safe and stable homes work. Our nonprofit partners continue to look for more volunteers to help them in their work, not only in safe and stable homes, but also in their day-to-day work. You can find those opportunities in our volunteer tab on our website. At your tables, you will find a card. Who can help me with who can help me with show and tell? Thank you. You will find a card that has a QR code on it that will give you all the resources listed on that card, including the policy forum report that we referenced today, more about our Safe and Stable Homes initiative, how to sign up to become a member of our advisory council, a donation link, our broader volunteer page, and more and more and more. So over 4 years of our Safe and Stable Homes initiative, we have made incredible progress in this community and our entire Fort County footprint because of the incredible ways our partners, including our business leaders, have come together. We know we can solve problems, big problems, when people like you come together. So our ask to you is that this is an issue that you are passionate about and you are not already at the table, that you consider joining that table. We're proud of the work that's happened to date. We know we can do more. So we ask you to consider joining us. We want to thank the mayor and his team for this opportunity to speak with you today. In just a moment, I'm going to open it up for your questions. Before I do, I want to acknowledge a couple of board members, current board members we have in the room. We have Judy Taylor, Cindy Nattinger, Jay Magalski, and Stephanie Reachnack, who are all at this head table. I know they'd be happy to talk to you about this work as well. Christina mentioned I'm her boss, they are mine, so please give them only very nice questions and compliments. Save the hard questions for me and Christina. But thank you for your time and attention this morning, and I would welcome any questions or comments anyone might have. And Rebecca, Mayor, please keep us honest on time.
If one did not bring a cash to the donation box out there, can we use that link for this?
You sure can. Thank you so much. In case anyone missed it, can you give via the link? Yes.
What do you think are the top priorities to try to move the needle in regards to safe and stable housing?
Top priorities moving the needle on safe and stable housing. I'm looking meaningfully at Christine Kohler.
It's a coordination of system. I mean, the first big thing is identifying all the families that are in need, right? Because families, if they're facing housing insecurity, are very good at hiding that fact. That needs their families. It's a scary situation. So if we can build trust in the community, build up avenues of identification, for example, working with the school system was really great this year, working with the Pediatric Coalition. That's one key thing. And then once we have all that information, being able to coordinate it well. So connecting the right resource to the right family at the right time, right? So that's this whole system that goes on behind the scenes that Patricia and the Housing Action Coalition is doing incredible work right now of just making that super strong and streamlined. And then making sure that like, we're doing our job well of making sure all those resources are well funded. So when you are connecting a resource to a family, that resource exists and it's funded, and that family can get the support they need to get back on their feet. Prevention is also the most cost-effective, trauma-informed way of supporting families. So the more we can focus towards preventing family homelessness or housing crises in general, the better we are off as a community.
One of the efforts that we have been using during Safe and Stable Homes is something we call the Family Flex Fund, and it's literally cash. It is literally cash in the hands of individuals before they get evicted. And it is sometimes the small, if a family's been living paycheck to paycheck, it is the smallest emergency that can take their budget offline. It is one blown tire, it is one unexpected urgent care visit, it is one appliance that went on the fritz. And so literally $200 in the hand of somebody at the right time can be what prevents an eviction. And so United Way's connection to our existing nonprofits helps us know when that need is at the time it's happening, which is so key because it's timing. There isn't anybody in this room who, if they had it, wouldn't hand $200 to somebody who needed it to prevent their family from being evicted, right? It's just knowing when that person needs it and getting it in their hands. And it's our incredible nonprofits who have those connections across the community that helps us do that kind of work. What else? Yes?
Number one reason for people becoming homeless, do you know what that is?
Money.
Financial.
Money.
Yeah. Does medical play a big part into that?
No
medical
question.
bills?
Medical bills, yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
that's what I was curious.
As you're working through including this initiative and looking forward to 2025, what are some of the most significant challenges that you face so far?
Challenges so far. I think part of the challenge is just helping people understand this is doable. I think when you say something like you want to end family homelessness, I think people think we're speaking in hyperbole, and we're not, right? So we've been working with the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness, which is the federal organization that coordinates the work of 17 federal agencies who all touch homelessness in one regard or another. They have 58 criteria that they use to measure homelessness. No community in the country has yet ended family homelessness. Some communities have ended chronic homelessness. So we are actually the partner for usage to say, how do you take that pre-existing 58 criteria, which were designed for chronic homelessness, and revise it to be specific to families. Some of it is exactly the same, but some of it's a little different. And so we've actually been their partner. So when we go out and say, we've ended family homelessness, that isn't just like United Way, like freestyling, like that's us partnering with usage to say we've met that criteria. And we're doing that because we want to have that credibility of saying, no, for real, like look at this. And we think that's important because I think it's easy to say problems that have been with us for a long time are inevitably going to be with us forever. And it doesn't have to be that way. We can be the community, we can be the generation that changes that. And I think that's really an incredible opportunity and one we should all be really excited to be part of. We'll go Larry and then we'll go back here to Ty.
So we have a lot of good representatives from city government, county government, and the excellent projects in Waukesha County. Besides what we've already mentioned, are there things that you're looking for from city government, county government, the nonprofit world to help take the next steps?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Larry. I would say bone up and then lean in, right? So read the materials, figure out what lane is the right lane for your personal passion or for your organization to play a bigger part in. And then, call Christina, consider whether the advisory council is right for you or a different role might be the right role for you to be involved in. Really appreciate it. times.
Yeah, could you just comment briefly on the difference between chronic homelessness and family homelessness?
Yeah, so I guess so these are all HUD definitions or usage definitions. So chronic homelessness is a specific definition of somebody who has spent a specific amount of time experiencing homelessness over a specific period of time. So not somebody who has been homeless for a week or a month in a year, but over a set period of time had been homeless for X amount of time. That was very inarticulate. Family homelessness means that you as a family unit are not safely housed. So when United Way decided that we were going to set a goal around family homelessness, we weren't focusing on a single male who was experiencing homelessness. We were focusing on individuals who had minor children in their care, who were either already homeless or at risk of experiencing homelessness. So when we named this initiative Safe and Stable Homes, we didn't actually put family homelessness in the title because we always knew we would want to set another goal behind the family homelessness goal, but first things first, we're gonna finish this one before we tackle the next. Because it's not only families who deserve this kind of stability, it's everybody, but like as I said, first things first. Joe?
How do landlords and developers fit into solving this problem?
Oh, so many ways. Joe individually serves on the Housing Action Committee and has been really engaged in this. So Joe, thank you for that work. And I see Melissa. And as soon as you start naming names, you're going to miss people, so I should stop. There's a lot of ways, right? So in Wisconsin, it is illegal to discriminate against somebody who has a Section 8 voucher. So Section 8 vouchers are the voucher an individual who's low income can receive that will pay your rent for you. Which is great. So theoretically, a landlord can't say, I will not rent to somebody who's on Section 8. But Wisconsin law does allow a landlord to put on their application income disclosure. So if I want to rent from you, you can require me to put on my application, here is my monthly income. What we have just done is provide an immediate workaround to the law that prevents you from discriminating against me on the basis of the fact that I get a Section 8 voucher. Now, is that the right thing to do? Is it not the right thing to do? It's not. I'm not standing here saying yes, no, right? If I'm a landlord, that's my property. You could argue I should get to decide who lives in my space. But we created that Section 8 law for a reason, because we thought people who receive Section 8 deserve a place to live. But because we require those disclosures, the law is essentially, it essentially doesn't do anything. And so there are lots of places that we should be thinking about existing law, how we're implementing it, what we should be doing differently in that space. Another thing that we've made a lot of progress on, I know we're starting to make progress here in Waukesha, and we've got more work to do, is around mediation. When someone's late on their rent, like the sprint to the eviction court isn't always the best move. What else could or should we be doing to say, is there a way to keep this family in this apartment? If you don't want this tenant in this place anymore, like that's okay. Like sometimes people need to move on, but is there a more effective way to get this person out of this place to have it work more smoothly for the family and ideally more smoothly for the landlord as well? Christina probably has 20 more items, but those are the ones that come top of mind for me. Yes?
Amy, I just want to thank you for everything that you do. You bring such a positive vibe to every meeting that you come to, and it's a pleasure working with you.
Thanks, Pete. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. I think I saw a hand up here. Yeah.
I appreciate what Christina said about how she spends her days. And as a pastor here in the city of Waukesha, my days are often spent trying to find shelter for the unhoused. The numbers are phenomenally high. And though I don't necessarily have a question, I just wanted to make a comment that oftentimes the referral process to get somebody into emergency shelter there's so much red tape involved, and there are so many places that people have to navigate, the unhoused especially. They cannot navigate it alone, and we often expect them to navigate it alone. And so my colleague Amy and I, our days are spent trying to help unhoused. And that's one of the reasons I brought a contingency with me from my church. And I'm not sure what the answers are. And as clergy, we're not even often resourced well.
Yeah.
So just a comment that that's how we spend our days.
I appreciate that, and thank you for the work you do. I'm going to send Christina to your table after we're done here, so you guys can figure it out. You know, something that happens in Milwaukee that is not currently happening in Waukesha, and it doesn't need to happen in Waukesha, but something Milwaukee switched to probably 6 or 7 years ago, is something called coordinated entry, a version of which is happening in Waukesha, but Milwaukee does coordinated entry for shelter entry. It's not perfect, it has some drawbacks. But what coordinated entry for shelter entry does in Milwaukee is when you call 211, there's the creation of one list for shelter entry. So instead of calling shelter and calling shelter and calling shelter and calling shelter, there's one list. There's downsides to it. There's a prioritization system. Pregnant women, people with minor children, people with medical vulnerabilities get prioritization for shelter entry, which means single men who don't have those same things go down on the list, right? So there's fairnesses and unfairnesses, no question. But it does streamline some of that front end red tape that you're talking about. Again, there's reasons that people don't like it too, which is why I understand why it's not happening here currently. But I bless you for the work that you're doing, because for every single individual who's not sleeping outside on any given night, it's a huge, huge difference. And Christina's going to find you to see if there's any way we can provide additional help.
Thank you.
Anything else, if I haven't run out our clock? All right, here's the mayor. Thank you.
So I want to thank everyone for being here. I mean, we were provided with a lot to think about. I guess for me, what I have seen is a change in the last 8-10 years, which is there are tons of silos that are built into the system. HUD is an acronym. When all they use are acronyms. Basically, in learning the language, there's very few of us that know the language. I can say I've been attending meetings for 9 years, and I still can't tell you what all the acronyms are. And that's what like all the different programs and all the different entities that work with those. Basically, that's one of the biggest problems, in my opinion, is there's federal money, there's state money, but you got to meet certain criteria, and it all needs to be coordinated, and it creates a lot of issues for everyone. But Waukesha, the entire area, has so many good people and so many good organizations working on this entire issue. They're working on all the different aspects, and I do see tremendous strides in addressing the problem. You have chronic homelessness, you have people without shelter, you have the housing situation itself. I'm especially proud of what Waukesha is doing with repairing old homes for people that don't have the money to repair them. That's really our biggest well of safe, stable homes, is making those homes that are starting to fall into disrepair or already are in disrepair and fixing them. And that program has become very popular to try to address that. It's incremental too. It can't happen immediately. I'm kind of jumping all around, but I'm always surprised. There's hundreds of students in the Waukesha school system that don't have a house, don't have a place to stay. That is something that happens all the time. I think it surprises a lot of people who live in Waukesha County that you have kids that go into school that are getting out of their car, their parents' car, or mom's car, or whatever, and going to school. So that's the type of issues that we have to solve. Jumping around again, I grew up on McCall Street here in Waukesha. Big, huge family, definitely a safe and stable home. The grass in our front yard didn't even exist because that's where all the kids played. There was four boys in one room, but that was a safe and stable home, and I think everyone deserves that. So, like I just jumped all over, I wanna thank you for being here. Think about this, try to figure out ways that you can help in this situation. It is a problem that I'm glad that we have so many people, so many organizations working on helping to create where we have safe and stable homes for every single family in the city of Waukesha and Waukesha County in the region. And one more final plea, which is if you are still looking for a way to donate to the community, please donate to the Parade Memorial Fund. With that, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everyone. Stick around, keep on talking if you're able to, and thank you for being here.